In this video, I'm going to demonstrate what we mean by a plugin program. That's a small program that can work in tandem with a host program. So the host program in this case is Lightroom. And when I need to use a smaller program which does a specific job, a plugin program, I can call it up from within Lightroom. So I've got an image of the inside of Bury Cathedral. It was very dark. Here's the original raw file, and I've lifted the shadows up and played around a little bit with the exposure. I have removed all of the detail, the sharpening and the noise reduction. If I zoom in, you can see that it's a very noisy image. ISO was 3200, so it's got no sharpening, but also no noise reduction. And if you go into the shadows and raise them, you always induce considerably more grain and noise. It's just a byproduct of digital photography. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is edit this and send it basically to this plugin program. Now they all work slightly differently, but this is a typical one. So I'm going to go up to the top left hand tab options until I click on photo, and I'm going to move my cursor down until I come across edit in. Now in this drop down menu are some plugin programs which I've purchased and downloaded, and one of them is called Topaz Denoise AI. I'm going to click on that. It asks me if I want to actually work on the image that I'm currently editing, which I do, so I'm going to click edit. Now Lightroom can't send the original raw file to this program, so it creates something called a TIFF file, which is very similar to a raw file. And in this program, it's opened it up in 4 different windows. There are 4 slightly different versions of the denoise program. The name of each one is bottom left. So this one is called standard. If it's green, it means it's finished processing. Next is clear. Bottom left is low light. And there's another one called severe noise. And I've got it set up so that it's taken a small portion of the image at 100%, and it's applied that specific version of the algorithm to that small portion of the image, so it doesn't have to process the whole file. Now if you look on the right hand side, the 4 different versions of this program are all named, and the sliders, of which there aren't really many, they are currently showing what the one that's highlighted in purple are set to. So for at the minute standard, these sliders refer to the standard version of the algorithm, and it's on an automatic setting. I don't think it matters too much really about exactly what this program does, since this is supposed to be just an example of what a plugin program is. So anyway, I can have a look at which of these I think does the best job. I'm looking at how much grain there still is, but I'm also looking at how much detail that it's held onto. So I'm looking at the brickwork behind, and I usually prefer one of the top 2 ones, and I think it's done a fairly good job with the clear program actually. So just for the sake of it, I'm going to decide to use the clear program, so I'm going to select it here. I could actually work on that a little bit more, but again, just for the sake of speed, I'm just going to say, let's suppose I'm happy with that. So I want to apply these settings to the image. So it will now process the full file, and then it will actually send a copy of it back to the host program that it came from, which is Lightroom, and it closes itself. And there we are. And it's even named this rather helpfully as Edit TIFF. So if you wanted to see, I now have 2 copies of this file. I click on both of them and we'll have them side by side. And we'll do a comparison. So the one on the right is the original raw file, or RAF file if you're a Fuji user, which I am. And the one on the left is a copy that was sent to the plugin program, and that's a TIFF file, and it's been edited. And now we can start to zoom in and see if it's managed to reduce quite a lot of the noise produced by the RAF file. Now it will still have some. I didn't really want to remove all of the grain because you start to lose detail. So if we look at the most severe parts, which was up in the top right hand corner, and we compare the 2 files, you can see that a lot of the grain and digital noise has been removed. I can further process this in Lightroom, but the heavy lifting has been done by the specialist program. You might also be able to detect that the denoise program has sharpened some of the image up as well. That is something I actually chose it to do. So if you look at the stained glass windows, you might be able to detect that there does seem a little bit sharper detail on the one on the left. And sometimes the floor is a good choice to show the digital noise, and you can see that that's a lot better on the one on the left, or the pew areas. So the tops of the pews here and these chairs on the right here have been considerably cleaned up. So I'm going to develop this a little bit further, and if you wanted to, you could add a little bit more noise reduction now in the main program. If you wanted to eke out and iron out a little bit more, so let's put that up to say 20 and just give it time to render. I mean, if I move it all the way up to 100, you can see now it gets artificial. Yes, sure, it removes everything, but you'll also lose detail as well. So if you bring it back down until maybe the grain is evident, but not too not something that bothers you too much, you can then start to add in some sharpening as well and find some sort of balance. I mean, this is quite a severe image. Okay, let's suppose I'm happy with that then. So just one more comparison then. If you see the stonework again on the left here, and you can see that that's a huge improvement. And there is sharper detail on the left, slightly at the expense of some fine detail that's been lost. So that's what a plugin program does.